In my last review, I mentioned a little series known as Two Heart, which was referenced quite a bit in Comic Party. Now, let's take a look to see what that anime is about. Two Heart is a Japanese adult visual novel developed by Leaf and released on May 23, 1997 for the PC. The game was successful enough to garner a sequel release in 2004, which was more successful than the original, as well as a series of manga and 2 television anime shows. The anime is basically about the daily lives of a group of high school kids, of which the version we will be taking a look at is the first series, brought to us courtesy of Right Stuff and Nozomi Entertainment. Our story begins with a young boy and a young girl standing together in the rain. The girl is apparently crying because she tripped and fell and got her school books all wet. The boy offers her to use his books at school while her books dry out. Not to nitpick, but the boy's voice seems rather mature for his age.
I haven't used any of my books yet, so you can swap yours with mine.
Don't tell me he's about 7 years old and his family jewels have dropped already. After the time jump, we see a girl named Akari getting out of bed. She opens her window and gives off a rather creepy smile as she looks out of it. After the opening credits, she leaves home for school. Along the way, she wakes up her best friend since kindergarten, Hiroyuki Fujita, who seems to be the kind of guy that can sleep through anything. So here comes what pretty much takes up a majority of the first episode, trying to figure out seating arrangements for the new semester.
That's too much work!
Can't we do it tomorrow?
Oh, quit your whining. It's not like you're trying to figure out the annual budget or pass a bill for overhauling healthcare. No one could decide how they can fairly determine the new seating arrangements, so the class president decides to draw lots to determine who gets to sit where.
How long are you gonna stay silent? I'm sure a good class rep would consider everyone's opinions.
Stop whining!
A few years later, the kids grow up to become a bunch of whiny union leaders from Wisconsin. That's another thing that's starting to disturb me about this country. Many Americans are becoming increasingly whiny and apathetic whenever they don't get their way. And the poor class president just sits there, taking the abuse and ignoring the whining students like a pro. Well, that's too bad. That's the thing about drawing lots. It's completely random. So Hiroyuki gets tired of all the bullcrap and decides to help the class president in making the lots needed to decide the new seating arrangement. Once all the lots are made, each of the students are to line up and pick a leaflet with a number on it, corresponding to the seating chart. As the kids pick their numbers and get their new assigned seats, Akari secretly wishes that she will be able to sit next to Hiroyuki. Hiroyuki walks up and draws the seat number 3, which means that Akari will have to draw the seat number 18 in order to sit next to him. And she does! So to celebrate, the group goes out to sing karaoke, much to Hiroyuki's disdain. And the rest of the show is pretty much about the everyday lives of the main characters. Would you like to meet them? First, there's Hiroyuki Fujita. He's kind of snide and sarcastic and a bit of a complainer, but he usually means well. He is also very caring and empathetic despite his usually dry attitude. He is often at odds with Shiho's hyperactive personality, and he has very little patience for things he considers mundane or ridiculous. He has a girlfriend named Akari Kamigishi, who he has known since kindergarten. She is a very sweet girl who seems to have a very optimistic attitude towards life. Just wait until you enter college and start living on your own, kid. Then all that optimism will go flying out the window.
Stupid!
She is especially fond of teddy bears, with special emphasis on the one that Hiroyuki gave her during their childhood. She often acts as the show's narrator, with her romantic aspirations forming the main theme of the series. Then there's Shiho Nagaoka. She is a rather tomboyish and extremely loud girl that Hiroyuki and Akari met in junior high school. She is very gossipy about what goes on at school, even if much of what she says turns out to be false. Her loud and boisterous attitude often gets her at odds with Hiroyuki. But now it's time to meet the real star of the show, a robot maid named Multi, who appears in episode 10 and 11. She is an experimental maid robot who was sent to Hiroyuki's school to learn to be more human. And we all know what happens when we give a robot the ability to think for itself and the ability to feel emotions, right? Her general purpose is to clean and be a companion to her human counterparts, even if she has some trouble with it. Two Heart is yet another show I would recommend for kids and people who are new to anime. Nudity, crude humor, and violence is pretty much non-existent, and profanity pretty much consists of brief use of minor swearing, such as "this sucks." Other than that, this anime proves to be as squeaky clean as a Miyazaki fairy tale. So I'll give all of the above no stars. The show is basically about the daily lives of the show's main characters and their relationships with each other. As such, with a few exceptions such as multi-storyline, most of the show's episodes can be seen in any order. Most of the time, however, the show focuses on Hiroyuki's encounters surrounding a single character within the course of an episode. The show's story itself has a rather steady and even pacing. Nothing too spectacular ever happens in the show, nor is it too slow to become boring or cumbersome. For the most part, however, the story is rather laid back, which may turn some people off who are expecting something along the lines of Azumanga Daioh or Pony Pony Dash. However, the show really isn't made to be a comedy. It is more along the lines of an uplifting and pleasant feel-good anime that may prove useful whenever you are down on your luck. So I will give story 3 stars. Two Heart's soundtrack is, for the most part, very smooth and mellow. As a result, the soundtrack really adds to the very pleasant look and feel of the show. Another thing that is worth noticing is that every character on screen has their own musical piece that is devoted to them and matches their personality, which is perhaps a nod to the game's dating sim roots. So I will give soundtrack a 4 out of 5. One thing I miss from older anime from the 80s and 90s is their handmade feel to them, and Two Heart is no exception. One thing I like about the animation in this show is the watercolor backgrounds and cute character design. The animation is very smooth and fluid and pleasing to the eyes. One interesting thing to note is that when Right Stuff and Nozomi Entertainment acquired the rights to Two Heart, the show's masters were apparently destroyed for some reason. Thus, they had to settle with a digital copy of some sorts. Other than that, I think this deserves a 4 out of 5. The characters are cute and well designed, but I do have some nitpicks about them. First, many of the show's characters, with the exception of Multi of course, are throwaway characters that appear in one episode and are never mentioned again afterwards. Which is a shame because there are some characters that I would like to know more about, like Aoi, the MMA chick, or the psychic girl Kotone. Each of the side characters gets one episode to introduce themselves. introduce and resolve their respective problem, and then just fade away for the rest of the show. Another problem is that the show's main characters themselves, despite helping the minor characters go through their set of problems, don't develop much through the course of the show, which makes them seem a bit flat and uninspired at times. On the flip side, the characters are very cute and easily lovable, so despite these setbacks, I will give characters a 3 out of 5. Two Heart is a very pleasant and laid-back anime. If you are looking for an action-packed roller coaster ride of an anime or an emotional anime drama, this anime is not for you. However, if you don't mind a pleasant, uplifting anime that's not too loud and with a slow but steady pace, try this one. Thus, I will give Two Heart 3 interest points and an overall rating of 7 out of 10. So, sorry for this being such a short episode. However, stay tuned for a special tribute episode of the show. This is the American Anime Otaku, signing out.